toxic masculinity, I guess.
Hmm.
I think there's been a push to kind of take the clarity away from what masculinity is, in a hope of helping people become more neuter and non-binary in general. And in the
Hmm.
context of sexual attractiveness, what that does is that it takes away the very catalyst for sexual attraction. So you have two people who really are nothing more than roommates to begin with, and then they're all in it for themselves, and they're like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this partnership, so away we
Right.
go to get a divorce. We're not getting
Hmm.
married at all anymore, and not even seeing the
Yeah,
value in it. Yeah.
exactly. And so there's so many ways we can go in this direction. And what comes to mind for me is that, people are not getting married anymore.
Mhm.
Marriage has, for whatever reason, like you said, a lot of people are selfish. They don't see the value in it. But also for men are not seeing the value. When they go through the divorce court, they end up giving so much more than they really need to. They don't get to see their kids. The mother usually gets sole custody of the kids, or
Right.
even if it's a 50-50, sometimes they still don't get to see the kids. So a lot of men think, well, why should I even go through all of that? There's so much sacrifice at the end of the day, even though it's a beautiful thing. If we go our separate ways, then you know he's going to be left holding the bag. What do you say to a man that has that sort of mindset with what's going on in today's society?
Well, first of all, I hear them. I mean, my first marriage was a disaster and ruined my life.
Mm,
But instead of being a victim, what I said was, here's how I'm going to do better and make sure it never happens again. And my wife and I are both givers, and we're both optimistic, and we're both generous, and we're best friends. So we actually like being together. We're not afraid of each other. I think it's really a shame that people start with a failure in mind like
mm,
that. Like, I'm not
yeah.
even going to do anything because what if I fail? What if it ends poorly? Uh, but I understand the fears of the family law system favoring women. I do think that's changing so much because there's enough crazy women and selfish women out there,
Yeah.
that the legal system's catching up with it.
Yeah.
Uh, the problem is when men say, I just don't want to get married anymore. That harks back to the selfishness, the me culture. And if you don't have a real vision for we, and it's just me, there is no reason to get married.
Hmm.
There is none. You can have partnership without the paper, right?
Yes.
You can have the pornography without the responsibility.
Hmm.
You can have, and I hope you know what I mean by that. There's no
Yes.
pregnancy, there's no STDs,
Exactly.
there's no body hurt
Yep.
if you're aggressive, none of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I don't think AI is going to make it any better. And if you want me to really put my tinfoil hat on and talk conspiracy with you, I just think there's a real push. And I mean, I think people who would deny this, I'm not really sure what they're in denial of,
Hmm.
because the numbers bear itself out, but there's pressure on the birth rate. I mean, there's a lot of pressure against getting married and having children in general,
Yes, there is.
procreation.
Yeah.
So I am an LGBTQ ally. I have no problem with that, but
Hmm.
I think it's fascinating the velocity with which not only the destigmatization of being homosexual, transsexual, or non-binary happened, but the standardization of it. I mean, you
Hmm.
have people with voices out there saying if you're heterosexual, there's something wrong with you,
Yeah.
right?
Like it's everything has flipped its head.
Right. Um, Now, here's the thing: anybody who is not engaging in heterosexual sex is not going to be procreating.
Grading. Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything, you know, homophobic about saying that. I think,
Hmm.
everybody I know who is LGBTQ would agree. I mean, we're not
Hmm.
going to be having sexual reproduction going on in our relationship.
Exactly.
You have men and women being pitted against each other in the
Hmm.
media, as if the men going their own way.
Yep.
I
I was
don't need
gonna ask you
women
about that.
anymore. Yeah, and those guys don't like me, by the way.
Oh,
And
really?
feminism went from being about equality to it all being men's fault, and we're going to stick it
Yes.
to them because now we're
Yep.
victims, and now we're going to do to
Mhm.
them what they did used to be perceived as doing to us. And then when masculinity is being branded as toxic, but men aren't being given anything to replace it with,
Mhm.
that creates a lot of confusion. But the problem with branding anything as toxic is you're defining it as being a vice, when in reality, in the world that the good Lord created, everything that is a vice is a perversion of something that's a virtue. You can't have evil as a standalone. The good had to have started first, and something
Then it's
made
perverted.
it evil, right?
Absolutely.
So where is this virtuous masculinity that had to have been corrupted to make it toxic? Well, that's the part people are conveniently forgetting to talk about. So in other words, men beat up each other. Men are obnoxious and horrible, and all men are responsible for everything bad that ever happened. And the phrase is do better. Well, do better what? Sit down and shut up and stay in your lane. You've seen all the echo chambers, angry people on Twitter, right? And then when you see enough angry people yelling at the mic, it's easy for us to brainwash ourselves into believing that's how everybody thinks. But you go back in the real world, and the women are saying, where did all the men go? Where are all the men? Where did Kharisma go? Where's all the Kharisma? Kharisma, you disappeared on me. Anyway, I'm going to keep going with this thought. It is a matter of the toxicity being kind of heralded in society as the only part of masculinity that's there. But of course, men are providers, men are protectors, men are heroes. Most of the men I know are trying to make the world a better place and want to be the ones who make the world safe for femininity to thrive. And this isn't in a way that's is pushy or in any way trying to take down the virtue of femininity, replace it, or diminish it in any way. Most men who are masculine men in a virtuous way are there to prize, value, and appreciate femininity and lift it up. So when a woman feels safe, secure, protected, provided for, not that she can't go get a job for herself. This isn't anything oppressive. This is the gift we're trying to give to women. This is why women love men in uniform, why they think the fireman's calendar has such hot guys on it, because this is what virtuous masculinity looks like, providing and protecting. And when we get into partnership, what ends up happening is a lot of the men go, well, I'm not going to provide and protect for these women who aren't even going to appreciate me, because the women are going, well, I'll get my own job. I don't need a man in my life. And the guy goes, well, then fine. And it's fine. And then everybody doesn't get married, doesn't procreate, and there are no more babies.
Exactly. It's a crazy cycle.
Right. And now you have AI girlfriends, as if this is a wonderful thing.